receive this vital force or this vital energy, this adaptation energy from our ancestors, some more, some less. You know, I can't help but think about George Burns, that Hollywood actor who died in his hundreds. Some people say, look, he smoked cigars and he lived a disorderly life, and yet look, he lived to be about over 100 years old. So I guess that means I can do anything with my body, and maybe I'll be lucky and live 100. The only reason he lived to be 100 is because of the constitutional energy that he received from his ancestors. They must have had a strong constitution. They must have lived relatively well in harmony with the principles of health. But it does not apply to everyone, because everybody receives a different supply of vital energy. Now, allow me to address some habits which deplete and diminish this vital energy that God has given to us. By the way, the vital energy not only is for our physical functioning, but also for our mental functioning. The more vitality we have, the better our minds will function, and the closer we can draw to God and understand His will. Allow me to address some examples of habits which deplete this vital energy. Not getting enough rest. Not sleeping enough. You know, when I was a student, I used to study all night to prepare for test. Do you know what that's like? It's like having your car racing at 100 miles an hour when it should be idle. You see, at night, our engine should be idle. Our body still functions, but the engine is idled. We're not supposed to be running full steam day and night, because this depletes our energy. And so one of the laws of health is rest. We need to get enough rest. We need to get enough sleep. One thing which I admire about the people in Latin America is they all close their stores at noon and they take a siesta. They go home and they eat and they have a good family time, and then at 2 o'clock they come back and they open up their stores, because they know that rest is of critical importance. What is another factor that reduces this constitutional energy? Trauma, accidents. We all need to be careful to not have accidents. I realize that we will have accidents now and then. But you see, what happens when we have an accident is, for example, we break a bone, the body has to expend additional energy to repair that bone, which would not be expended if we had been careful. Also, exercise, lack of exercise, impacts the burning of that vital energy that we have received. You see, when we have too much body mass, the result is that the heart must pump harder, and it must pump more times to get the blood to the additional body mass. And by the way, when we are overweight, and I'm not criticizing anybody, but when we're overweight, our vessels constrict, and it makes it much harder for the heart to get the blood through the vessels, because the vessels constrict, they build up cholesterol, and the heart has to work harder to push the blood through the vessels. Let me give you an example. With very little exercise, the heart of the normal person beats 80 times a minute. But if people just did a little bit of exercise, and let me tell you this before I tell you about the little bit of exercise, at 80 times a minute, that means that your heart beats 115,000 times a day, okay? But if you do a little exercise, you can reduce your heart rate to 60 beats a minute, which means that your ticker is saving 29,000 beats a day, because it's only beating approximately 86,000 times. And so what are you doing? By exercising, you are reducing the use of the vital energy. You're preserving your vital force. And by the way, the vital force not only lengthens our life, but it also helps us have resistance against disease. Now, let me address certain habits that people have, like, for example, smoking. What's the downside of smoking? Well, when people smoke, the poisons enter their body, for example, the kidneys, and the kidneys have to work overtime to expel the poisons. The liver also has to work harder and longer to expel the nicotine and the other 30 plus poisons that cigarettes have. And as a result, your body is working overtime to expel the poisons. And in order to do that, it is expending the vital force which should be used to preserve life.